I've always been a little neurotic about food safety. Some of it comes from having worked in restaurants most of my life, but my sister and I also frequently got sick from my grandmother's cooking when we were kids. My husband tends to dismiss my obsession with food safety. It wasn't a big issue until he started learning to cook seriously about 4 years ago. He's no careless fool, but when my suggestions are more cautious than Reddit's consensus, he'll get annoyed about it. For example, if I suggest that he tempts something that is almost certainly cooked through, he'll roll his eyes and do it reluctantly. 2 weeks ago, as we're unpacking groceries, one of the condiments looks off to me. It's too dark, the oil looks separated, and I strongly suspect it's spoiled. He's the one who buys and eats it, so instead of throwing it away, I pointed out to him, "Hey, this looks weird, and I don't think you should eat it. Take a photo, ask for a refund, and throw it away." He inspects it and agrees that it looks weird, but still puts it in the pantry. Over the next few days, as I notice he hasn't thrown it away, I bring it up a few more times to no avail and eventually drop it. A few days ago, he texts me to say he has to stop working early because he threw up twice. He's hardly ever sick, so I'm like, what the heck? Later, when I get an explanation, he ate the darn sauce and puked it up less than 3 hours afterward. I'm annoyed, but he looks miserable, so I crush my annoyance down to the size of a pebble, make him a glass of electrolytes, and set him up on the couch with a wastebasket and darkest dungeon too. Additional context for my annoyance, I have a doctor's appointment the next day, and he agreed to come with me weeks ago. I'm nervous about the appointment and don't have anyone else to ask on short notice. The timing sucks, to be honest. Fortunately, the acute phase is over quickly. He's back to 90%, his estimate, the next day, and comes with me to the doctor. I've been pretty accommodating up until then, but as he's making himself food, I can't contain it anymore. I wasn't going to say I told you so while you were sick, but since you're feeling better, I told you that sauce was off. I told you to throw it away, and look what happened. Hope you learned a lesson. An argument follows. His points. He checked the expiration date, okay? He smelled it first, okay? Him getting sick was a coincidence. Everything worked out, and I'm being mean for acting like I knew it would make him sick. My point, I was right. Now we're at a stalemate. If y'all think I was mean for kicking him while he was still 10% down, then I promise to apologize. Otherwise, I'm sticking to my guns. To add, didn't expect this to blow up. I'm not much of a Reddit person, but I'll address a few things I see in the comments just for closure's sake. 1, it was definitely the sauce that got him sick. He works from home and can't drive, so he pretty much never leaves the house. We don't have children. Nobody's been over in the last week. The timing made it pretty obvious. He literally only threw up twice, and it was right after he ate. And I never got sick despite being around him. He threw it away. 2, some folks are saying that food poisoning doesn't set in that quickly, but it definitely can, and it's pretty easy to Google that, so you can do that if you want. There are cool charts and everything. 3, obviously the character limit reduces stories like these to their bones and leaves them open to infection with whatever twisted personal fantasy you want to project onto them. But for the record, he and I both got a huge laugh at everyone foaming at the mouth to tell me how horrible I sound. We've known each other since we were 14. We are best friends, and we both have anxieties that might make us seem insufferable to other people. See, he doesn't drive, but we do our best and love each other anyway. 4, I apologized, but so did he. Everybody won. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, everyone sucks here. Maybe he should have listened to you, but if you're neurotic about it, according to your own words, he probably tunes you out. It's kind of the boy who cried wolf situation, and I expect you're a bit overbearing with it. But you don't kick people while they're down. Why would you do that to someone you like, much less love? Comment 2, you're the idiot. It doesn't matter if you were right or not. You still decided to rub salt in the metaphorical wound, even though he still went to the doctors with you while still being somewhat sick. You were just being petty. That's not something that you do to someone that you care about. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. So about a month after the whole sauce incident, things took a turn I didn't quite expect. My husband and I had been trying to move past the argument, but there was this lingering tension. It was like we were both waiting for the other shoe to drop. I thought we were doing okay, but then something happened that forced us to confront our issues head on. One evening I came home from work to find my husband in the kitchen, cooking up a storm. He was making a complicated dish that required a lot of steps and ingredients. I could see he was really into it, but I also noticed he was being a bit careless with the raw chicken. He was using the same cutting board for vegetables without washing it first. My heart sank. I didn't want to start another fight, but I couldn't just ignore it either. "Hey, can you please use a different cutting board for the veggies?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. He looked up, clearly annoyed. "I know what I'm doing. It's fine." I took a deep breath. "I just don't want anyone to get sick again." He slammed the knife down on the counter. "You always think you know better, don't you? I'm not a child. I can handle this." That was the breaking point. We ended up having a huge argument right there in the kitchen. It wasn't just about the cutting board or the sauce anymore. It was about everything. Our communication, our respect for each other's opinions, and our underlying anxieties. We both said things we didn't mean, and it got pretty heated. After the argument, we didn't speak to each other for a couple of days. It was awkward and uncomfortable, but it gave me time to think. I realized that my obsession with food safety was more than just a habit. It was a way for me to feel in control. Growing up, my sister and I often got sick from our grandmother's cooking, and it left a lasting impression on me. I never wanted to feel that helpless again. But I also realized that my husband had his own reasons for being dismissive. He grew up in a household where he was often criticized and belittled, and my constant suggestions probably felt like more of the same to him. He wasn't just being stubborn. He was trying to assert his independence and prove that he could take care of himself. A few days later, we finally sat down to talk. It wasn't easy, but we both apologized and tried to understand where the other was coming from. We agreed to work on our communication and to be more respectful of each other's concerns. It was a small step, but it felt like progress. Then, about a week after our talk, something unexpected happened. My husband got a call from his mother, who lives in another state. She had fallen and broken her hip, and she needed someone to come and help her out for a while. My husband wanted to go, but he was worried about leaving me alone, especially since I had a big project coming up at work. This was the hard choice I had to make. On one hand, I wanted to support my husband and let him go to take care of his mother. On the other hand, I was nervous about handling everything on my own, especially with the added stress of my project. But I knew that if I asked him to stay, it would only add to the tension between us. In the end, I told him to go. It was tough, but I knew it was the right thing to do. He left the next day, and I was left to manage everything on my own. It was challenging, but it also gave me a chance to reflect on our relationship and what we needed to work on. While he was away, I had a lot of time to think about my own behavior and how it affected our relationship. I realized that my need for control was causing more harm than good. I decided to make a conscious effort to let go a little and to trust my husband more. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was necessary for our relationship to grow. When my husband came back a couple of weeks later, things were different. We were both more aware of our own issues and more willing to work on them. We still had our disagreements, but we were better at handling them. We started cooking together more often, and I made an effort to be less critical and more supportive. One evening while we were making dinner, my husband turned to me and said, "You know, I think we're getting better at this." I smiled. "Yeah, I think so too." It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. We were learning to navigate our differences and to support each other in new ways. It was a reminder that relationships are always a work in progress, and that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that lead to the most growth. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for confronting my father about his neglect and then feeling conflicted? When he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I'm 22-year-old male, a twin, and I have a twin sister named Ren. When Ren and I were 4 years old, our mom died from liver cancer. She was 30 years old. I know that would be difficult for Dad. Going from a happily married father of two to a widowed father of two with no family close enough, emotionally, for support would be a lot. But he was a better dad to my sister than to me, and that started before Mom died. It just stood out more after. My dad was an affectionate and caring father to Ren. She was his little girl and he cherished her. If she fell, he would pick her up, kiss away her tears, and clean her cuts. He was gentle and compassionate with her. When she was upset, she could sleep in bed with him. He'd snuggle with her on the couch. He'd pull her out of school sometimes and take her on father-daughter dates. When she was bullied, he was really proactive in dealing with it, and he fought hard for her. He went out of his way to make sure she felt loved and supported. Growing up, I heard the words tough and strong a lot. I heard the word man a lot, and I was still so young. He never cuddled me or kissed away my tears or carried me. He never even said, "I love you" to me. There was nothing gentle about him when it came to me. He was rougher, harsher, and he expected me to be tough, to be a man, to be strong. If I had a nightmare, I was sent straight back to bed. When I was terribly bullied in high school, my dad didn't want to know about it. There were times when both Ren and I would fall. We were both young, and even if I was bleeding more, she was the child he comforted. It was never me. Not if it was both of us falling, and not if it was just me. He never had father-son dates with me. The most interest he ever showed in me was when I could help him with guy chores, like moving stuff. I tried to talk to him about this on a few different occasions, but I was never able to finish. He always cut me off for one reason or another. It got to the point where I expected it if I tried. I moved in with my best friend's family after I finished high school while still living at home. Ren lived at home for 2 more years. Dad only called me when he wanted something. He did it again the other day, and I decided the situation had to end. I told him I'm not a toy he can take out when he needs me and then discard me once I've served my purpose. I told him I'm his son, not his helper. And I brought up how he never says he misses me or says, "I love you." He never ever showed me love or affection, and I wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. Dad sent me an email in response. He emails better than he texts, saying I was being very harsh. He said I was never his little girl and boys are raised differently. I replied that I was never trying to be his little girl, but I was his little boy, and he should have shown me love too. He responded again that I accused him of discarding me like a possession, which was unjustified. Am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your dad deliberately chose to put your twin sister before you instead of loving you both equally. Boys don't need to be raised differently from girls. That is dumb beyond belief. Good on you for recognizing your worth and standing up to him. You're not in the wrong at all. Comment 2, not the idiot. I think your dad forgot that he had to help with your emotional maturity since your mom died. I don't think your tears being kissed away is a great example. But what about bringing you to a park? Going to get ice cream with you? Talking to you about life? Hugs? Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading. So after that email exchange with my dad, things took a turn I didn't quite expect. A few days after our last email, Ren called me. She sounded upset and asked if we could meet up. We decided to meet at our favorite coffee shop. When I got there, she was already sitting at a corner table, looking anxious. As soon as I sat down, she blurted out that Dad had told her about our emails. She was worried that our relationship was falling apart and wanted to understand what was going on from my perspective. I explained everything to her, how I felt neglected and unloved growing up, and how Dad's recent behavior had pushed me to confront him. Ren listened quietly, her eyes welling up with tears. She said she had no idea I felt that way and apologized for not noticing sooner. It was a heartfelt moment, and for the first time I felt like she truly understood my pain. But then she dropped a surprise. Ren told me that Dad had been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. She said he had been struggling with memory issues for a while but had kept it a secret from me. This news hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. Why hadn't he told me? Did he think I wouldn't care? Ren explained that Dad was scared and didn't want to burden me. She said he had always felt guilty about how he treated me, but didn't know how to make things right. This revelation made me see things in a new light. I realized that Dad's harshness towards me might have been his misguided way of preparing me for a tough world, especially after losing Mom. I decided to visit Dad and talk things out face to face. When I arrived at his house, he looked surprised but invited me in. We sat down in the living room, and I could see the fear and uncertainty in his eyes. I told him that Ren had informed me about his diagnosis and that I wanted to help. He seemed relieved, but also ashamed. He admitted that he had been wrong in how he treated me, and that he regretted not showing me the love and affection I deserved. We talked for hours, and for the first time, I felt like we were truly connecting. He apologized for his past behavior and promised to try and make amends. I told him that I was willing to move forward and support him through his illness, but he needed to understand that I needed his love and support too. Over the next week, things started to change. Dad made an effort to reach out to me more often, and we began spending more time together. We went for walks, watched movies, and even cooked dinner together. It felt strange at first, but slowly, we started to build a new kind of relationship. Ren was thrilled to see us getting along better and joined us whenever she could. One evening while we were having dinner, Dad shared a story from his childhood that I had never heard before. He told us about how his own father had been strict and unaffectionate, and how he had vowed to be different with his children. But after losing Mom, he felt overwhelmed and fell back into the same patterns he had experienced growing up. This story gave me a deeper understanding of his actions and made me realize that he had been struggling with his own demons all along. As the days went by, I noticed that Dad's memory issues were becoming more apparent. He would forget simple things like where he left his keys or what day it was. It was heartbreaking to see him like this, but it also made me more determined to be there for him. I started researching Alzheimer's and joined a support group to learn how to better care for him. One day, while we were sorting through old photo albums, Dad found a letter that Mom had written to him before she passed away. In the letter, she expressed her love for both of us and urged Dad to be strong for our sake. She also mentioned how proud she was of him and how she believed he could be a great father to both Ren and me. Reading that letter brought tears to our eyes and reminded us of the love and strength Mom had always shown. With this newfound understanding, I felt a sense of closure and peace. I knew that our relationship would never be perfect, but we were making progress. Dad's illness was a harsh reality, but it also brought us closer together. We were learning to support each other in ways we never had before. As I reflect on the past week, I realize that this journey has been about more than just mending my relationship with Dad. It's also been about understanding myself and finding the strength to forgive. I know there will be challenges ahead, but I'm hopeful that we can face them together as a family. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for ruining my friend's wedding rehearsal? By asking to do my own makeup. 26-year-old female, am a bridesmaid for my friend from college, Lily. She wasn't really involved in planning the wedding, leaving it to her maid of honor, Anna, apart from choosing the venue and dress. Anna picked a local makeup artist who had experience doing the look that Lily and Anna had decided on. I first met her at the rehearsal dinner, and she did Lily's and all the bridesmaids' makeup. The makeup had lasted for most people. However, on me, it looked awful by the end of the night. The foundation had separated in places and it highlighted my texture. When she came around to do the makeup for the wedding, I asked her if she would mind me doing my skin prep before she put the makeup on, and she said she did her own skin prep and didn't want to deviate from the look Anna asked her to recreate. I mentioned how my makeup had looked at the end of the rehearsal and that I could do my own makeup instead, and she told Anna. I repeated the same information to Anna and said that I wouldn't mind doing my own makeup, but Anna insisted that the makeup looks for us should be cohesive and just work with the makeup artist. Anna was quite busy, so I left her alone. When it came to my turn for the makeup, the skin prep she was talking about was a makeup wipe and a facial mist. I asked her if I could use my moisturizer, and she said no, it might not work with the foundation she was using on us. When I said she could use my foundation, she said no, it was her professional reputation on the line, so she felt more comfortable using her products. We were just going around in circles, and she wasn't compromising on anything. One of the other bridesmaids came in, and when I explained the situation to her, the makeup artist got pissed and walked off because she felt I was now ganging up on her. She had done everyone's makeup barring mine and Anna's at this point. Anna called me difficult, and I told her I had tried my best to work with the makeup artist, and the other bridesmaid backed me up. Anna got upset as we were in a foreign place where she knew no one last minute to help with hair, as the makeup artist had left, and Anna and I didn't have our makeup done. Some of the other bridesmaids tried to placate the makeup artist, but couldn't find her, and we found out later she had just left. We all did our own hair, and one of the other bridesmaids did Anna's makeup. Anna didn't talk to me for the rest of the day and has sent me a text requesting me to cover some of the cost with the makeup artist, as she is still charging for transport and the hourly rate of the work she did do on the day. Lily is on her honeymoon, so I don't want to bother her with this, but I genuinely don't believe I should be responsible for the makeup costs. I feel awful that on the day she walked out and I gave countless apologies, but I tried to stand my ground about the makeup, and now I'm getting called difficult. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not applicable. Professional makeup artist here. The makeup artist was definitely being unprofessional by not letting you apply your own base. It's not like her bridesmaid makeup was about to be analyzed by a panel of judges. So the line about her professional reputation is just bogus. No one on earth would ever say, wow, the bridesmaids look so cohesive except for that one girl's foundation. She wasn't open to adapting the makeup to add proper skin prep. It was also very inappropriate for her to leave without communicating with the client that hired her. Very messy. This is not how it is done at all. Comment 2, that makeup artists and their reputation need to learn how to handle different skin types that don't take to her product lines that well. Not all people can use her products. For some, it just doesn't work out. Not only that, she was extremely unprofessional for walking out instead of agreeing to disagree and moving on to the bride. To demand payment after that? Awfully ballsy of her. Not the idiot now for the update. Thanks for all the comments from my last post. So here's what happened over the next 3 days. After the wedding, I was feeling pretty down about the whole situation. Anna's text about covering the makeup artist's costs was weighing on me, and I didn't know what to do. I decided to talk to one of the other bridesmaids, Sarah, to get her perspective. Sarah was sympathetic, but also suggested that maybe I should just pay the money to keep the peace. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but I didn't want to cause any more drama. The next day, I decided to text Anna back. I told her that I was sorry for how things turned out and that I was willing to cover part of the makeup artist's fee. I thought this would help smooth things over, but Anna's response was colder than I expected. She said she appreciated the gesture, but felt that I had ruined an important part of the day for her. This really stung because I had genuinely tried to make things work with the makeup artist. Later that day, I got a call from Lily. She was back from her honeymoon and had heard about the drama. She was upset, but wanted to hear my side of the story. I explained everything that had happened, and she seemed to understand. However, she also mentioned that Anna was really hurt, and that maybe I should have just gone along with the makeup artist's plan. This made me feel even worse because I realized that my actions had affected more people than I initially thought. That evening, I got a message from the makeup artist herself. She was furious and accused me of sabotaging her work. She said that because of the incident, she had lost potential clients who were at the wedding and saw the chaos unfold. She demanded that I pay her the full amount she was owed, plus compensation for the lost business. This was way more than what Anna had initially asked for, and I felt trapped. I decided to talk to my boyfriend about it. He was supportive, but also pointed out that I might have been a bit stubborn about the whole makeup situation. He suggested that I try to make amends with Anna and the makeup artist, even if it meant swallowing my pride. I didn't like the idea, but I knew he was right. The next day, I reached out to Anna again and asked if we could meet up to talk things through. She agreed, and we met at a local coffee shop. The conversation was tense, but I apologized again and offered to pay the full amount the makeup artist was asking for. Anna seemed to soften a bit and said she appreciated the effort. She also mentioned that she had talked to Lily, and they both agreed that it was best to put this behind us. Feeling somewhat relieved, I then contacted the makeup artist and told her I would pay her what she was asking for. She was still angry, but agreed to drop the matter once she received the payment. I transferred the money and hoped that this would be the end of it. However, the fallout didn't stop there. Over the next few days, I noticed that some of my other friends were acting distant. I found out through Sarah that Anna had been talking about the incident to our mutual friends, and many of them thought I was in the wrong. This was really hard to deal with because I felt like I was being judged without people knowing the full story. I also started to reflect on my own actions and realized that maybe I had been too focused on my own comfort and not enough on the bigger picture. This was a tough pill to swallow, but it was important for me to acknowledge my mistakes. In the midst of all this, I remembered an incident from college that had a similar vibe. Back then, I had a falling out with a close friend over a group project. I was so focused on getting things done my way that I didn't consider my friend's perspective, and it ended up ruining our friendship. This memory made me realize that I had a pattern of being inflexible, and it was something I needed to work on. As the days went by, I tried to mend my relationships with my friends. I reached out to a few of them and explained my side of the story, hoping they would understand. Some were receptive, but others were still distant. It was clear that this incident had caused a rift that wouldn't be easily fixed. Looking back, I wish I had handled things differently. I should have been more willing to compromise with the makeup artist and more considerate of Anna's feelings. This whole experience has been a wake-up call for me, and I know I need to work on being more flexible and understanding in the future. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.